Back in 2008, our first presenter, who you're going to hear from here in a moment, had contacted me, but I never got the email. And then this was maybe earlier this year, earlier this year, I got an email, and we had connected for the first time and found out who she was. Is that she is a psychologist who specializes working with children. So the presentation will be kind of fun because she enjoys her work and gets to have fun all day working with children. And she also happens to be the youngest student that Harold Schroppel ever took on with the lessons in advanced perception. And it was, she considers it the most important lesson she's ever learned in her life. And what she learned in that has carried on all the way till today. And she's going to be sharing this presentation with you, her experience working with Harold Schroppel, what kind of options there are to actually learn these. Besides the book, that's one thing, but being able to be mentored personally by somebody who worked directly with Harold in this when he was still alive and teaching is going to be pretty priceless. It's a rare opportunity. So please help me welcome Dr. Ruth Olmstead.
In high school, I graduated early from high school. I found Harold Schroppel, Institute for Advanced Perception in Oak Park. And that was quite a lengthy process to get into that institute, let me tell you. I had about a 6-page application form, essay questions. If you had all the power in the world, what would you do with it? This kind of stuff. And I think he was, obviously screening people, wanting to know about their sense of ethics and morality. And I had quite a lengthy interview with him as well. And he was a very interesting person. He was very I call him quietly powerful. I met L. Ron Hubbard about a year after that, and I couldn't wait to get away from him. He was just too overly enthusiastic, too into trying to control, and I didn't know at the time that they both knew each other. But he was the polar opposite of this mentor that I had in my life. Who was quiet and wanted you to have fun and play and explore and learn. And, your personal journey was about you and was not necessarily to be shared with anybody else. And he was a wonderful mentor for me. He guided me for about 4 years and all throughout college. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. Because, the things that happen are very profound. It was probably the wildest ride of my life going through those 4 years. I had experiences that are sort of unexplainable. So what I learned, use myself as an artist, obviously it's not me, but what I learned is that anything is possible. What we see in this three-dimensional reality is just an illusion. This is not even what it's about. This is sort of our little playground, right? And I really learned to be the observer. I learned sort of how to expand my perception. I learned how to get out of that fear place, because fear is what stops us from creating. So, like I say, I think we all have searched for this. We all question ourselves at some point in life. It can be because of trauma, the death of a loved one. For me it was a number of things, the out-of-body experience, the trauma, crisis, loss. That's when we sort of question, wait a second, what's going on here? And we can step back and say, it's okay. All of this has an order to it. We just can't see it. Everything has a reason. Of course, as you go through life, you sort of pick and choose what kind of works for you, what kind of makes sense to you. And so I just want to share with you kind of what was going on at the time to lead up to how these lessons kind of came about. Another favorite of mine, Carl Jung, he believed in collective consciousness. Be careful what you put out there, people. Other people can grab it. But he really believed that we were all connected, sort of like a spider web. Something happens over here, and we all feel it a little bit. We feel that anxiety. I tell my patients, all right, if you have anxiety, check first, is it you? Is it anything in your life that's causing you anxiety? Because if it's not, you're just picking up what's out there. The goal of psychotherapy is to help people be, less reactive in life. Whereas Harold, he wants you to be able to go to that place and be like, not reactive at all. You're just the observer. You're seeing things, through a clear filter. And emotion just gets in the way. Bias gets in the way. Religious beliefs get in the way. It's pretty challenging. This is not an easy course. You are going to come across belief systems that are going to be challenged. And like I say, it was the wildest ride of my life. So in psychology, of course, we want to teach people, think outside the box, find multiple solutions to a problem, right? I mean, with Harold, there's unlimited, solutions to a problem. You just got to reach up and find it. Reach up and grasp it. Both is about adaptability, overcoming obstacles. And ultimately, with Harold, there's a lot of, I call it dessert. There's a lot of icing on top of that cake because you also start developing an intuition naturally through this process that you never thought was possible. So I think that the specific lessons that for me are very important. Like if someone was going to ask me, if you were to pick anything out of what you learned, what do you think is the most important thing? And I think, of course, controlling our physical body, knowing ourselves, knowing our responses to things. Same thing in psychology. What triggers you, right? Let's work on that so that you don't get triggered anymore. Same stuff, right? It's just more scientific language. Control of emotion, huge. That is huge. The second lesson plan, by the way, running those dichotomies. Oh, I kept skipping them. Harold said, just skip them, come back when you're ready. Oh man, I wasn't ready for like years. I hated those things. It was so hard mentally to run some of those emotions. It does take effort. I even tell my patients, it takes a lot of effort to really, when a kid says to me, I don't know, oh, that's not acceptable, You're going to sit there and think about it until you tell me an answer, because you know. So basically, in terms of controlling emotions, we are taught to act instead of react. We walk around reactive constantly. We take things personally. Someone cuts you off. Oh, really? He did it on purpose. Well, maybe that person is running home because his kid just, dumped some boiling water on himself. I mean, we don't know. We walk around with the assumption that we know what everybody else is doing and why they're doing it. One of the most important things I learned as a therapist was that, and this was a 2-hour training that we had. We sat in a group of 4 people. We all had to swear to tell the truth. One person would make a statement, and the other 3 would tell them why they thought they said what they said. We did this for hours, and we were wrong. 90% of the time, we were wrong. So what does this tell you about how we walk around assuming that everybody is acting in a way that we literally are projecting onto them? Okay, so emotion drives telepathy. So you can't control your transmissions unless you're clear, right? I mean, so not that I wanted that. It's not that I want to send out anything to anybody, but this was all part of part of learning how to control yourself. We had to go through these exercises, right? And then, of course, to receive, you have to quiet your transmitter. You have to go to this clear place so that you're perceiving. Remember the lesson I told you about how we assume? We assume, and we're wrong. You have to go to that place of clarity to even have a hope of knowing, what somebody else is transmitting. Where are they? In therapy, it's like, if I don't know, I have to simply ask. So what is it that you're feeling right now? Sometimes it's just a confusing, sort of chaotic sense of emotions. But accessing this observation mode is really, really a profound thing to learn.
I love the melding of technologies that you bring. And for me, a lot of the decisions I make are either I jump in with both feet, or I have to become very familiar with something before I use a new tool,
right?
Because I don't want to take my fingers off, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So to me, this is a big jump. And I'm thinking that I need to prepare myself some way to at least clear room to have time to do something like that. And like you brought up with the experiments, the toys,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could, if there might be a way to get a trail of breadcrumbs to help people like me that are a little more wanting to be in control that aren't, to try some of the breadcrumbs before we plunge in with both feet.
Right, right. But remember, there's no time limit on this stuff. You go at your own pace. This is a personal journey, right? So I'm putting my therapist hat on. You mentioned something about a fear. You don't want to take your fingers off, right, with a certain technology. Okay, so let's change that into you're going to set boundaries for yourself that you will not be harmed, right? It is not your intention to have an experience where you will be harmed in any way, right? So set some boundaries. We are just energy beings. That's what we are. And if you understand that, you know, and you'll find out a little bit more about that story when I when I talk about this technology I developed, because, you know, we're dealing with the brain. It's just an energy circuit. That's all it is. And so, by the way, using one of these brain stimulation devices will automatically open up some things that will start happening. Your intuition goes way up.